What makes those who stand out among the rest become the legends of today and tomorrow? With guys like Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, Keenan Allen, Josh Allen, and Josh Allen's Hines, and many more, setting new heights and standards weekly for their respective organizations. I think what makes great are the ability to turn it on and pull out a win from being dominant in their prime to having unforgettable games afterwards. We saw that in the likes of Travis Kelce in the last couple of years. We've seen Mark Andrews take more of a step back in the offense, but still become a pivotal role when need be. We see Josh Allen in his prime right now, having a MVP like performance yesterday, and we're seeing plenty of young players like Drake May, JSN, Kyle Hamilton, and Caleb Williams doing their respective things for their respective teams, showing that the future for the NFL is just as bright as the current present and the past has been. And we have so many more guys writing their stories every single week, putting their stamp on their mark in the NFL. Records are being broken, standards being set every single week. From those before to those after in the NFL, legacies get etched in time forever. I am your host, Josh Kirby, and this is the Fourth and Forever podcast. Isn't this a dilemma we are not used to? The Chiefs are we're heading out of week 11, heading into week 12, 5-5. I personally can't remember the last time it's been this late in the season and a team at this caliber is struggling. And I know the Ravens are 5-5 twos, and there's other teams that are really good that are having or more of the in the middle realm, but the Chiefs are the surprising. I told everyone coming into this week, I was talking to my girlfriend before Saturday night, I told my dad early in the morning, I said this game, the Chiefs and Broncos game, is the most important game of Sunday. Because if the Chiefs win, it shortens that gap from that division, and it proves what we all were expecting is if the Chiefs were going to win, Bo Nix was going to play poorly and quote unquote get exposed, which I think we already realized his low ceiling, and Mahomes was going to do magic. Well, when push comes to shove, the Broncos heard all the chatter, heard all the talk, and just like last season, they set up a 35. They ran a really nice 2-minute drill, time ticking off the clock. They set up for the game-winning field goal, and instead of the Chiefs pulling out magic and blocking it, the Broncos kick it and they win the game. Now, last year the Chiefs won 11 one-score games, 11-0. That doesn't happen often in the NFL. We saw it with the Vikings a couple years back, where with Kirk Cousins was striking magic and doing the same thing. Following year, we watched the drop off. Now the Chiefs are having the same aspect because when you're in that many close games, it means teams are keeping close. It means there is less of a gap than you would want to admit at least. Now the Chiefs did represent the AFC last year, so even with the gap that they had, it was enough of a separation to put them as the best team in the AFC last year. Now sitting at 5-5, having the Broncos have a firm 4-game lead in the division, and not to mention the Chiefs have now lost 2 divisional games, one to the Broncos, one to the Chargers. They play each team one more time. That both games are going to be very important long term in the season, and the Chiefs' schedule does not get any easier. This is the first time I think that I can comfortably say Chiefs fans should be a little worried. Now, not a lot, because I am not, like I said, said many times, I will not be a fool when it comes to the Chiefs. I refuse to do it. The Chiefs, I think, are still going to make the playoffs. I'll talk about the actual playoff positioning later, but I do think they still find a way in. I think with the coach and the quarterback, and like I said, great players make great plays. Travis Kelce has just become the triple crown of the Chiefs organization. He has the most receptions, he has the most yards, and he has the most touchdowns in Chiefs history. He has become their greatest weapon, probably of all time. Very respectively earned. Multiple time Super Bowl champion, setting records in the organization, and by the end of his career will be more likely not top 3 to top 2 in every tight end stat. He's phenomenal. He's absolutely incredible. It's him being able to get up for big games like this was impressive. He wasn't the issue. Now I don't think he was. I still think at times he can hinder the offense, being him being such a vital role and the only one really producing on a somewhat regular basis. It's hard because his athletics are not what they used to be, but his mind is still above and advanced over a lot of defensive minds. So he's able to get open, making plays, and really establish himself still as one of the best tight ends in football, even if the production on a weekly basis is not as consistent. He's still a game changer, even like I said, at probably last year, maybe last couple of years of his career. I'm thinking this will be his last year, but if he can keep getting up for big games like this, he may have another year left. Who knows? But in a sense that the Chiefs have an opportunity to, for the first time in Mahomes' era, not only not win the division, but be a fringe wild card team. Whether they make it or not, I'm assuming they'll make it. But either way, it's definitely a game changer in the NFL. This is something the AFC has not seen recently, and it this is the moment where you take advantage of stuff like this, where a team like the Ravens, who generally play a lot of road games in the playoffs. I mean, Joe Flacco, I'm pretty sure still holds the record for the most road playoff wins. Like that's what our team is very used to that. And there's other teams that I think can take more advantage of having that home field crowd on their side. I don't know if it's a huge advantage in Indianapolis, but it might be for them. The Broncos, it's definitely an advantage. No one wants to go to Mile High and play a playoff game. No one. Who wants to go to Buffalo and play a playoff game? Who wants to go to New England and play a playoff game? We saw what had happened in Brady's era. We don't want to do that now again. So this implications of this game has really is going to transcend across the whole AFC, where even when you're making the playoffs, it's not going. It more likely than not is not going to go through Arrowhead this season. We'll see how it plays out. I mean, I still will never count the Chiefs out of anything because the Broncos could just completely fold it in the rest of the season and lose this great lead they have. I doubt it, but it could happen. The Chargers are falling apart without a healthy offensive line, and Herbert's just he's doing everything he can, but it clearly is not enough with what he is given in his tool bag right now. So that could be an issue too. The Chiefs could easily slide to number 2 in this division in a couple weeks, and then come playoff time, like I said, there's a lot of implications that really transcend long term in this league, and we're only in week 12. We still got plenty of football left to play and plenty of wild things going on. So let me not spend too much time on the Chiefs because I do want to talk about the Broncos as well. This was a great example of Bo Nix this game. He was not perfect throughout the game. He made some errors. His deep ball still not as perfect. Everything about him is not perfect. He is not elite. I think I'm. It's firm to say that Bo Nix is, even though he's one of the very talented young quarterbacks in the league, I do not put him at the top level of talent. But we've seen a lot of quarterbacks with lower ceilings but higher floors really succeed in this league. Maybe not Super Bowls, but a long standing career of doing great things. And when you match them with an elite coach, they do potential MVP like stuff. We've seen it with Dak, we've seen it with Matt Ryan, we've seen it with Kirk Cousins having multiple 30 plus touchdown seasons. You see these quarterbacks that aren't they're not going to transcend the league. They're not. I mean, no matter how great Bo Nix is, his upside will never hit Drake May's upside. Drake May has that bigger frame. He has a bigger arm. He has it. Just you see the talent is just a little more prosperous. You see that with Caleb Williams. Like even though for a long time, I think I trusted Bo more than Caleb. Maybe I trust them about the same now. But either way, maybe I'll trust Bo still a little more, but I still like the talented upside of Caleb so much better because if you can get all the little things right with Caleb, he easily can become a top 5 quarterback based on the attributes he has. Now, Bo does not have those same attributes, but that's okay. Sean Payton wants someone that could successfully push out his game plan. And that's what he's gone. And they put a game plan together with one of the best defenses in the league, who's probably going to likely to break the single season sack record, which it's just insane what this defense has been able to put together schematically and just they got dudes on this defense. But most importantly about Bo is what you're going to get is when the game's on the line and it matters the most, you can put the ball in his hands and you can trust he will make the right decisions. And you can't trust that all the time. Even with sometimes the elite quarterbacks, you worry at the end of the game. It's like, are they going to like? I really like Jordan Love, but I put Jordan Love in a 2 minute drill. It worries me a lot more than I worry about Bo Nix because Jordan Love's a little more cock it back and sling it. Those are the Brett Favres of these new era guys like that. Brett Favre was a guy where in a 2 minute drill, maybe you didn't want him throwing the ball. Maybe you wanted him to take the easy route, but he sees that deep shot and he wants to take it, and it may turn into an interception and kill the drive. It's the reason why guys like Jameis Winston, and I love Jameis Winston. Well, I'll talk slightly more about that later, but he when they go for broke, sometimes you go broke. But this instance in Bo Nix, he led a drive, perfect passes. He made big boy throws and big plays, and it really established what this offense is all about. This offense isn't going to be perfect. It's not going to be pretty. But when push comes to shove and you have to rely on the game plan and the situational football awareness, it's something that Bo is really good at, and Sean Payton establishes very well in his offenses. So driving a 2 minute drill, leading the clock winding down, Broncos are able to win it with a walk-off field goal. That establishes very much the Broncos of this year. While I think it's very telling of the Chiefs of this year, where they don't have the rosters they used to have. When you're paying your quarterback this much money, you're paying Travis Kelce, you're paying Chris Jones, you got some guys, but overall on this team, you got guys sliding out of their prime, and you got tons of guys who they were third, fourth, fifth options on other teams. I just say if Juju Smith Schuster was not on the Chiefs, there's a good chance he's not in this league. Hollywood Brown would find himself a slot somewhere on a team, but he's not their one or two. Thornton probably wouldn't be in this league, or he'd be on a practice squad somewhere. That's go without saying. This offensive line is makeshift and not perfect, and I swear if we hear Jawan Taylor get another penalty, I'm gonna go to the Kansas City Chiefs office myself and teach him how not to get penalized or how to line up on the line because I don't even play, and I can see every single week him making the same exact errors. Why that is still a problem, I'm not sure, but he's still the best tackle they have, one of the best tackles they have in the building, even though that's not a great option. And we've seen it before. Mahomes loses big games when there's a lot of pressure and sacks. But I don't want to go too much on this game, but I had a question asked to me. It was the other day at work. A customer asked me, he said, what is more valuable to to a defense? Is it getting sacks, so more of a physical result stat, or is it getting tons of pressure and forcing things to happen? Because in the perspective, it seems easy to say, oh, I would much rather my guy get sacks, end the play. That's a nice stat number. The thing is, you're not. I mean, unless you're Myles Garrett, you're not getting 4, 5, 6 sacks a game. It's a harder thing to do. Not every defense is going to be able to do that each week. It's hard. You especially against with some of these great quarterbacks that can scramble and can move and get out the pocket. But pressure is so important in disrupting plays, such as we saw what the Eagles were able to do when it came to Jared Goff or Jordan Love the week before. If you can get in and get after the quarterback and maybe not get a sack, but knock them off their rhythm, push them around, have them just anticipating the pressure sooner than they would like to, it's a big difference. It's a huge difference in a game. You do it to young quarterbacks all the time. That's the best way to rattle a young quarterback is get them not thinking clearly, get them a little off their zone a little bit, and you're just constantly attacking. And it's even if you're not getting a sack, at least you're rattling them. I told him, I just, that's what I told him. I said, it depends on the quarterback you're playing. It depends on the situation. Sometimes a sack can be really nice and really useful. And I will generally never hate on my players getting a sack. But there's also times there's players that get, as I would say, quiet sacks, where you see these very talented players, they have 8 plus, 10 plus sacks on the season, but their team is losing, and that's the only plays they make, is they only get that sack. But they're not stuffing the run. They're not providing pressure any other time. Some of the sacks are more the quarterback's chasing and they just pull their legs out from underneath of them. And it's a good play, but at the same time, it's disruptive for one play, not disruptive throughout. I want my team to constantly put on the pressure. I mean, you don't have to get 10 sacks a season to make a difference. I mean, look at the Packers with Michael Parsons. He's not getting a sack a game. He's not getting 3, 4 sacks a game, but he's getting pressures in. He's forcing the opposing quarterbacks to make decisions they might not want to make, but they're having to go through the progressions at a faster rate, which is causing them to make mistakes. That's how interceptions come. That's how incompletions. That's how you see balls thrown into the dirt, balls thrown a little high. It disrupts the timing of the offense because a lot of young coaches love timing offenses. I mean, throughout the league, a lot of offense coordinators love those timing routes. Those, okay, let's get the offense on a tempo and keep running with it. And pressure messes all of that up. Sacks can, yeah, you can take a sack, but you can get back up, get your thing. But a pressure, it's getting that timing off. It's getting that pass off. It's making the DBs allowed to make a play. It was a really interesting question. I just figured I throw out my answer, and if anyone wants to say what they have to say, please leave a comment below. Like, subscribe on that, please do. But now, let's transition to the Sunday night game because I think that would probably be the second biggest game coming out of this Sunday, and that's the Eagles Lions. Before I talk about the winner, let me talk about the Lions. Lions' aggressive method of going for it on fourth down, even though I love it as the host of the Fourth and Forever podcast, talking about fourth down is something I really enjoy because I think it's a concept in football that has really become a factor each and every week more than it ever has. In the last 5, 6 years, we've seen teams go for it on fourth down at a much higher rate, and the success rate is a lot higher because they're attacking it more often. But in games like this, that aggressive nature hurts you. And it's something that I think everyone worries about this Lions team when it comes to these big spots and these moments and these games where sometimes it's not always about the aggressive play, it's about the conservative, smart play. They were 0-5 on fourth downs. Goff was under duress all game. He was having a rough day. He was it just overall he was off target. His footing wasn't great. He was cold. You could tell that the environment wasn't favorable to him in a situation like that. And his big, strong, beefy tight end wasn't in the game. So without Laporta and with this defense of the Eagles who's playing out their mind, which in one moment I will definitely touch base on, I think the best strategy in these moments, instead of going 0-5 on fourth down, you kick a couple field goals, you may have won this game. This game, it wasn't like it was decided by 2, 3 touchdowns. I get going for it on fourth once or twice, but once you realize it's just your quarterback is not in the position to do it, you just do it. And then after your method, then after all these failed fourth down conversions, you punt it. And near the end of the game, you punt it and put it on your defense. Like, I'm not saying that was the bad strategy call. That was the time to be aggressive. You were down, you needed to score. You had to put that money on it. Don't punt it. Go for the go for it now. Now you go for it. The game's really on the line now. But before, you still were plentifully in the game. You were driving down the field. Take advantage of what your offense was able to give you, what your special teams was able to help give you, what your defense was able to help give you. Your overall ability and field position and moving down the field and the yardage you were gaining was very helpful. It put you in positions to score field goals, but instead you chose to go for the first down. You failed, and now you have now given the Eagles another possession. Now, that's where transition to the Eagles, where their offense could not capitalize enough on those extra downs. all those turnovers on downs was given extra possessions to the Eagles. And each and every time, the Eagles were not efficient. There's just no connection between Hurts and Brown. It's just even they're trying to force it and you're watching it trying to be forced. It's not there. Smith wasn't having his best day. Saquon was doing good, but he's still been the same. He's not he's not having the production on this team like he was last year, but he's still a productive back. Hurts' legs were definitely a factor in this game, but overall, the biggest well, first and foremost with this offense, I think they need a change in offensive coordinator. I think it's just this offense is not clicking. Things aren't going right. We'll probably see in the offseason AJ Brown's going to get traded. They'll fire their OC, get a new OC in here, and maybe get things running at a more fluid pace. Because I think this is a team that's good enough to win a Super Bowl, but I think this team is also structured on offense where it could implode in a playoff game, and then they're looking around, scratching their head, thinking all the work they've done on this defense, with how talented this roster is, they should not flame out in a playoff game. But this offense could self implode and really put them in a bad look come the playoffs. Now, for that defense, they traded for Jalen Phillips. Jacoby Dean got healthy. They were both factors this whole game. Jalen Carter's a factor. Quinyon Mitchell is a factor. This whole team, just this defense with Vic Fangio coaching it, he's coaching this defense up. He's coaching this defense aggressive. And he's coaching this defense to make plays, and that's what they keep doing consistently. This is one of the best defenses in the league, and it's not just based on the roster they have. It's not just based on the schemes. It's based on the actual production that they're putting out every week and the pressure they're putting on opposing quarterbacks. Like I said, it's not always about the sacks. They're getting enough pressure on opposing quarterbacks, such as they made Love look rattled and out of place. They made Goff, who's been one of the most efficient quarterbacks in the league since joining the Lions, make him look rattled and out of his place. If your defense can do that, even if it's not forcing 6 turnovers a game or something like that, if they're not having these incredible stat lines, but they're getting the job done, that's what you need out of your defense. I don't need my defense to be the best at forcing turnovers or the best at getting sacks. I want them to be consistently efficient across the board. And if they can do that, it's putting enough pressure on the opposing offense. And it should be taking less pressure off of your own offense, even though it's not translating very well. And the complementary football is not as there as it should be in the Eagles. The defense should be expecting more out of this offense. Because if they're going to give you the opportunity, if they're going to stop fourth down conversions, it is your job to go down there and put big points up so the defense won't have to be on its toes the whole game. But I think these are two teams that are still going to make the playoffs. I think this loss for the Lions, as we know with the Lions, as I've been talking about, they don't lose back to back games. So this is a bad loss. They have a game next week, which I'll talk about their schedule a little later. It's going to be nice to see where they both teams go and how they both will position coming the playoff seeding. I don't want to talk much about the Giants Packers game. I think the Giants aren't much to talk about. Dart didn't play. Jameis did Jameis things. Um, Brian Burns looked like a monster, but overall, just the Giants in general, it's like without Dart, they have an interim coach. A lot of their key players are hurt. It's kind of like their season's kind of a wash, and it's not as interesting to me. But what's interesting is what the Packers are doing. Jordan Love and the Packers in general keep making me question, well, what are they? What is this team? This is a team that I had a lot of confidence going into the season that they were going to represent the NFC. But now that the team that I'm watching each and every week, they don't have an identity. They don't have that key difference maker of a team, of a unit that makes me project them to not only go to the Super Bowl. I don't know if this is a playoff team. And if this team doesn't make the playoffs, that means that Micah Parsons addition to the team doesn't look very pretty right now. Because if you don't make the playoffs and the Cowboys don't make the playoffs, then honestly at the end of the day the Cowboys more recently win the trade because Cowboys get a quicker return coming to the draft next year, while the Packers now have to retool, either dumping off draft picks to gain more, or they got to hit free agency a little harder because they're going to have to retool to be more prepared for next season. Because Tucker Kraft getting injured, in my opinion, I don't think should have shook this offense this much, but it has. Dobbs was dropping passes left and right. You don't have Reed or Wicks out there. I think Wicks might be back, but even then, he's not playing at a super high level. You got the rookie Golden in and out of the lineup. He's not consistently out there. I don't know if it's he's just not getting the playbook down or you guys don't trust him. I don't know what it is, but he's a unit that's not getting he's a tool that's not getting utilized right now. And then you got Watson who he had some drops, but clearly he's your best deep threat at the moment. He has really great hands in those contested catch situations. He scored a phenomenal touchdown on one of the best throws of I would say of the weekend. Jordan Love put it up. That was a money throw right there. That was probably the throw that really separated this game. He makes an incredible touchdown throw to Watson in the end zone for a touchdown. Why to end the game, Jameis Stewart throws a pick in the end zone to lose the game. So it really shows that Jordan Love is really, really good. I don't think he's great. I think I thought he had the elite potential, but I've definitely pulled back and leveled out on that. Maybe this is just what he is. He's a really, really good quarterback. He maybe the offense isn't him. Maybe he likes to sling it, and if he's going to sling it a lot, he's going to turn the ball over. And with Josh Jacobs getting hurt, it definitely puts even more pressure on him. Even though Emmanuel Wilson came in and did a good job, it's still Josh Jacobs is a his the production he puts out for this team is very important, especially he's him scoring almost every game. But overall, this Packers team just worries me because I'm going to talk in a moment about the remaining schedules for some of the NFC North teams, at least the three teams competing for the division. And after going over it, I don't think it looks very good for the Packers. But before we get into that, I want to talk about two other teams from the NFC North, and that is the Bears and the Vikings. So I'm going to talk about the Vikings first. I like the attitude of JJ McCarthy. I like his work ethic. I like him. I think as a guy, he seems like really much. He seems very willing to take in a lot of coaching. He seems like he's going to put his life on the line every time he steps out there. But when your number one receiver is frustrated by the production, when the fans are frustrated by the production, and a stat line of 16 for 32, 150 yards, one touchdown, two picks, and a quarterback rating of 50.47, you have some questions. Now, I know I don't want to slam and hammer this guy too much. He's having this is his this will be his rookie season. These are the only games he's played, and he really hasn't even played the whole season. He hasn't played that many games. So judging him is this fast is so difficult. But what I know works in the NFL, what I 100% know works, is if you are a efficient passer and you complete a high percentage of your balls and you make really good IQ decisions through four quarters of the game, you can be very successful in this league. Whether you're successful in multiple teams or one team, you can be very successful in this league. He does not complete a high percentage of his passes, and overall, I don't think his decision making is always the best. Now, I think at the end of the games, he has a clutch quality to him that if he can be in it by the end of the game, you have faith that he might be able to pull it out. But with some drops by Addison in the game and some high balls or balls to the dirt, he really put himself in a position where his stat line didn't look great, but neither did the eye test on the field where you looked at him and you're like, well, are you the worst quarterback to come out of that first round of that draft? Maybe. I mean, Penix just got hurt, and I'm not going to talk about the Falcons, but they said he might have a season-ending knee injury. They're not really sure yet. That, but it's either you or Penix at the moment, and it doesn't look great for you. It doesn't look great for JJ. It doesn't look great for the Vikings, especially when you saw what you were able to get out of Sam Darnold last year, and you see what Daniel Jones has been doing. I am out on JJ. I think just what I've seen so far, I think it's a guy that is still so emotionally young in the NFL that it's going to be really hard for him to overcome himself. And I don't say that in the most respectful way possible. These young quarterbacks that play at a higher emotional level, where they play each and every week with their heart on their sleeves, it's a great mentality. It's a lot of fun. It's exciting. But when the production is not there, you get kind of tired of it. It's kind of like Baker with the Browns. Yeah, the highs are great and you love it, but when the lows are settling in, you're able to bail out probably faster than you should. But either way, it's easier to bail out because you think, oh, emotionally they're just not. It's not consistent. It's not there, and I think that might be the problem with JJ. I think his emotional maturity within the NFL experience and everything, he's not where he needs to be to check himself and calm himself. Darnold had the same issue. Darnold, I think, was he was the seeing ghost quarterback, but very much in his own head, lacking confidence. You see quarterbacks sometimes go through these downswings, especially when they're on organizations that are struggling. As for JJ, what doesn't bode well for him is he has a phenomenal coach. He has a top five roster in the league. I would say top five, and you have a really good organization that believed in you. So it doesn't bode well for him on that aspect when he's not able to produce, and you can see the frustrations around the organization over his lack of production. While Baker and Darnold both found their footing elsewhere, it took them a little bit, but they found it, and the lessons they learned along the way really propelled them to be even better quarterbacks and players overall in this league. This is something I would love to see if that will happen to JJ, but I think as of right now, I don't see this Vikings team having a future with JJ McCarthy. And I don't see JJ McCarthy having a successful future here at the rate it's going. Now, things could change, another off season, another full season of reps, maybe. Maybe they give him another year, maybe they don't. But with a coach like that and a roster like this, there's no reason that he can't achieve greatness or at least show flashes of greatness. And that is probably my concern with this team and with JJ McCarthy. Now, for the other team, the Bears, I do have concerns still about this team. I still think Caleb is nowhere near to being refined. I think he's still it's not all perfect, but that's okay because with the coaching of Ben Johnson, they are winning games they would not have won last year. Because I promise you, last year with the coaching staff, with way this Brian Flores Vikings defense plays, the Bears would not have won this game last year. This would have been a loss, and they would have left shaking their heads thinking we were the better team, and we would let this slip away. But not this year because the coaching is better, hands down. Ben Johnson has done a phenomenal job. I think he's instilling a lot more confidence in Caleb week after week. This is a team that could make the playoffs. I didn't think coming into the season this team had any playoff aspirations, but they've pulled out some tough games I didn't expect them to pull out. They currently are number one in the NFC North. I don't know if they're going to win the division. I'll get into it in a moment, but I really think this team should get a lot more respect than I think we've overall have given them. At least I know I haven't given them enough respect. I've given a lot to Ben Johnson, but overall to this team, they're fighting hard each and every week. They're doing some really good things. It's not all perfect, but winning is winning. And at the end of the day, if you can pull out wins, you can really separate yourself in this league because now you're not always worried about, man, can we can we go 8-9, 9-8? No, maybe you might be able to win 10 games and really establish yourself as, hey, we are one of the better teams in the NFC, and you should question us for a playoff spot because we've done more than enough to earn it, and they have earned it. But now I want to dive into the remaining schedules of the three teams competing for the North title in the NFC because I think that is the biggest difference. That is the most complicated division you got left in the NFC. I think we're pretty much sold. Eagles are winning their division, and the Cowboys, Giants, and Commanders won't make the playoffs. I think I'm pretty confident the Bucks win their division. Saints, Falcons, Panthers won't win the. I know the Panthers They've been winning. I looked at their remaining schedule. They have too many tough games left. They play the Rams. It looks like they play the Niners. They play Seattle. They have too many tough games left for me to believe that the Panthers can keep this winning streak up and make the playoffs. I don't see it happening. And with the Seattle and Rams competing neck and neck, I really see one of them teams getting a playoff spot and the other team winning the division, which leaves potentially two playoff spots left. I'll get more into that in a moment, but that means either three teams are coming out of the North again, or only two of these good teams are coming out of the North. And I think two is more likely than three at the moment. So the Bears' remaining schedule right now they're 7-3, very impressive, good for them. Their remaining schedules they play the Steelers next. I think they could beat the Steelers. I think the Steelers, especially if Aaron Rodgers is hurt, I'll talk about that in a moment. But they play the Steelers next, then the Eagles, then the Packers, then the Browns, then the Packers, then the Niners, which is going to be a very important game coming playoff seeding in my opinion, and then they play the Lions. In my opinion, with their remaining schedule, I probably see them losing to the Eagles, once to the Packers, to the Niners, and to the Lions since they've already had a tough game with the Lions earlier this season, and I could really see that hitting ahead again with the Lions pulling it out, really wanting to establish themselves as Kings of the North once again. But that would lead to the Bears being a 10-17, which is not bad. I think that was definitely I think two games better than I had them. I think I had them at 8-9. Definitely, I think a respectable schedule for first year coach Ben Johnson and a team that I think is far from perfect, but is getting it done each and every week. Now the Packers, this is where the worriness comes. Packers remaining schedules, they play the Vikings twice, they play the Lions, the Bears, the Broncos, the Bears, and the Ravens. So yes, they play the Bears and the Vikings twice. I think they beat the Vikings both times. I can see them splitting it with the Bears. I think they'll lose to the Lions since week one. Neither I think the Lions are the better than they were week one, and the Packers are not as good as they were week one. And then they play Broncos Ravens. They're not beating the Broncos, and I think with the Ravens at that point, the Ravens are really playing for the division and playoff spot. They're going to want it a little more, and I think based on if these two teams both won it, I promise you the Ravens are going to win it more. I feel it very deeply. Going into the season, I had us potentially losing that game. Not anymore. We won it more. We are the better roster. We are the better team. That leaves the Packers going 9-7-1. Is that a playoff team? 9-7-1 does not sound like a playoff team to me. With only potentially two playoff spots left in my version of the playoff bracket, but we'll get to that in a moment. And the Lions' remaining schedule, they play the Giants, the Packers, the Cowboys, the Rams, the Steelers, the Vikings, and the Bears. So that's three divisional games. I think they can win all three of those divisional games. I think they're going to beat the Cowboys and the Giants. Doesn't matter who's quarterbacking the Giants. They're beating the Giants. They're beating the Cowboys. Probably beating the Steelers at that rate. They're just a better roster, a better team. I think at that point in the season, the Steelers are really. If Rodgers is his left arm is broken in any way, his hand, his wrist, anything, that's that's pretty devastating for that team, and they'll probably send the team in a negative trajectory. And if they're playing the Lions, I just don't think they have a shot based roster matchup. It's not the same. But they play the Rams. I think the Rams will give them one more defeat. I think the Lions lose one game rest of the season. They'll go 12-5. Lions firm up this division. Left the Bears, I think, etching out the Packers for second, and the Packers falling to 3 in this division. When I originally thought they would win the division, but it's not a division winning team at the moment. And that's the concern for the North. Now I'll get into actual breakdown of my playoff predictions as of right now later. But like I said, I do want to drop the news that Rodgers did exit the game on Sunday. Looks like a left wrist or arm injury. Mason Rudolph came in, they still got the win. But if Rodgers is hurt, I have even less hope for this team than I already did, and it wasn't high. They play the Ravens twice with an injured Rodgers. They don't win both games. Ravens are already 3-0 in the division, beating the Browns twice, beating the Bengals Actually, we haven't played the Bengals twice. I don't think yet. Wow, this is no, we have no, we haven't. Wow, this is yeah, this is important. This is very important. We played the Bengals twice. We played the Steelers twice. So we're already 2-0 in the division, and we play the Steelers without Aaron Rodgers, and I'm pretty sure we'll beat the Bengals both times with Lamar plays very well against the Bengals, especially that defense is not going to get us, I think, the troubles they would like to give us. So that could be 4-0. That could be 6-0 in the division. That's the division crown right there. Straight up, that's the division. Like if we can go 6-0 in the division, that's us winning the division and putting the Steelers out of the playoffs. So I'll before I get to talking more about the Ravens and the Browns, I'm gonna save that for the last game I talk about because I haven't talked about the Ravens as in depth as I'd like to. But I want to talk about the next game that I think is a game that will have huge playoff implications long term. Is the Seahawks and the Rams. One of these teams are winning this division, and one of these teams are going in as probably the top wild card team. These teams are both phenomenal. Defensively, these both teams are great. I trust Stafford more in big spots, and I have him still as my MVP, and I love Stafford. But his limitations to be able to be more mobile and get out of bad situations on offense does lean a little advantage to the Seahawks at times, with Darnold having that escapability, a little younger, a little more athletic. But at the end of the day, Darnold threw 4 picks, and Stafford once again is proving why he's been such a great candidate for an MVP. But I mean, to put in perspective for Darnold, and I will to cut him a little slack, Darnold has been 0-3 against the Rams in his career, while he's 21-4 against everyone else. So that in a grand scheme of things, the Rams just give him a lot of trouble. It's going dating back to last season to this season. So the Rams just give him a lot of trouble. But overall, he's had a really good winning record, and he's played really good this season. A lot of people have had him as an MVP candidate. I still wouldn't go as far to say he's playing like an MVP. Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just I love the high of last year was so shocking, but coming to this year and him still playing at the same level, I expected that. I didn't think last year was a fluke. I think this game is just a bad game because all great quarterback. I mean, Lamar they had a bad game today. Lamar didn't play well, but it doesn't mean I'm taking away his status as an elite quarterback. Just like I'm not going to take away Darnold's status as a really very good quarterback. He's earned that right to be called a very good quarterback in this league. And the Seattle defense is insane. And this offense, JSN is the first receiver to hit 1,000 yards this season. He's insane. Running back combo is great. I love how this team is coached. I love everything about both these teams. Honestly, these are two teams I really like going into the season. I was a little more bullish on the Rams. I thought Stafford's injuries were a bigger thing than they were letting on. Clearly, they weren't. Clearly, I think Stafford just needed extra time to just rest because he's a little older up there in age. But he's been playing phenomenal, and I don't see any signs of those injuries that they said he dealt with. And the Seahawks look great too. So these are the two teams competing for the division, and these are two teams I'd said many times if Stafford is healthy, this team really has a really good core. And I said this all year. This division is crazy, and I still really like the Niners. And I haven't even talked about the Niners. I feel the need. I'll talk a little about them in a moment. But this Rams Seahawks matchup has been phenomenal all season. I've been waiting for these two teams to meet because these are two of the best teams I think in the NFC. And I would definitely, when I put down my top 10 teams of the week, these two teams are probably both sitting in the top 5 slot. These two teams are phenomenal. There's not much else I can say about it. I think these are two teams that will make the playoffs. We could see this matchup. We're going to see this matchup at least one more time this season. We could see it a third time in the playoffs. So that next matchup is going to mean everything because that's probably the division. So let's go to the next two teams that are both I think going to make the playoffs: the Bucks and the Bills. Um, I don't want to harp or stay on this game for too long. I think any one of us that watched it, this game was exactly what I said was going. Josh Allen it did exactly what I said Josh Allen does. If the Bills want to win, they win through Josh Allen. He scored 6 touchdowns, 3 through the air, 3 through the ground. If this team wants to win and this team wants to establish their greatness, they do it through their quarterback. There's no other way to do it. The rest of the team is just not as good as him. He's one of, if not the greatest football player in the game right now. He's just phenomenal. It's insane. And the Bucks, there's no slight to the Bucks here. They played really good. Baker looked really good. The Bucks looked really good. This was a great back and forth game. You know there was 9 lead changes in this game. 9. That shows you that this game really was a back and forth all day. This was just a phenomenal game. I don't want to criticize either teams too much. I mean, I think the Bills defense is definitely more suspect, and I think leading into the playoffs that could really hurt them if Josh Allen can't go Superman. As for the Bucks, no matter how great Baker is, Baker will not be that. Baker can run the ball in, he can make it good, great plays. Baker borderlines elite every time he's out there, and whether he's elite or not, I'm not sure. But he's this team. The difference between these two teams were the quarterback, and that's no slight to Baker. It's just there can only be one Josh Allen, and Baker can do everything he can. He's not. He does not have those physical gifts of Josh Allen because most people on this planet do not. And it was phenomenal. I think both teams are going to make the playoffs. I think both teams can win a playoff game, but based on seeding, it's going to be very interesting to see more so for the Bills, and then even so for the Bucks a little bit. So I think the Bucks, out of every team that's going to win their division, has a chance of being the fourth best team. So that means more likely than not, they're playing the best wild card team, meaning they are hosting the Seahawks, who have been one of the best road teams in the NFL since Mike McDonald took over, or they're going to take on the Rams, who are just an overall very, very talented unit. So it's really interesting to see how, with this loss how that implements into their seeding potentially long term. And with the win for the Bills, they're really still trying to catch New England. Buffalo could win this game, look phenomenal, and Allen could have MVP like season. But if they enter the playoffs as a fifth, sixth seed in the NFL, where are they going? Who are they playing? I mean, I think this year in the AFC, like I said, with the Chiefs potentially being a wild card, it's wide open. It's more open than it's ever been, and it's exciting to see where that turns out. Speaking of it being open, transitioning to just a quick note about the Jaguars. The Jaguars hammered the Chargers today. Liam Cohen can coach. He's a very good coach. I think this roster, I'm still not fully sold on across the board. I don't think it's a phenomenal roster. But I think the coaching is very well, and they knew the weakness of the Chargers and they attacked it. They have a poor offensive line. They got after Herbert all day. They forced him to make poor decisions. The defense did its job, and the Chargers defense couldn't stop them. Point point blank period. That's how this game went. I'm not sold on Trevor Lawrence. I think they overpaid for him, and I think he's just I don't know. I remember all the talks of him coming out of college, what he was supposed to be, and he isn't even I think a fraction of that. I think he's just not at all the quarterback I expected him to be. I don't know if it's a good thing, I don't know if it's a bad thing, but the Jags now have a win over the Chargers and the Chiefs. Those are important wins when it comes to the grand scheme of the playoffs because if they have hopes to make the playoffs, they now have a leg up on two potential playoff teams. So that's something to look out for as the season's coming under. And do the Chargers miss the playoffs now? Another loss. O line's not getting any better. We'll see. But to come down to the end of talking about games, we have the Ravens and the Browns game. It was an ugly game. We didn't play well offensively. Their defense, Myles Garrett got 4 sacks. So, yes, okay. I'm just going to point blank say this. I So, with my girlfriend being relatively new to football, I mean, well, we're about to be together for 4 years, and I really got her into football once we started getting together because I told her, I said, football's a big part of my life, and you don't have to watch it every Sunday. You don't have to know every player and every stat and every rule. You don't need to dive into it like I do, but you're going to have to watch it. It's important to me. You're going to have to know a little bit about what's going on because it's going to be involving my life, and if you want to be a part of my life, you have to have that part of your life as well, at least to some degree. She understood, took it by the took it head on. She's actually done way better than I thought she would at picking up the information, understanding the players and things that are going on. It's actually been a lot of fun, like coaching her along her NFL fandom journey because it started when we got together, and it's really she's now her own fan of it, and I think that's really cool. But what I always tell her is I always wish she would have got to watch sooner and watch some of these great legends play that she didn't get to watch. Because I always say the greatest player on defense that I have ever watched in their prime was probably Aaron Donald. I'll probably put J.J. Watt underneath of that, and maybe I'd probably say those two because I barely missed Ed Reed and Troy Polamalu's prime. I think I was just catching the back end, and I missed Ray Lewis's prime, and I saw a lot of Terrell Suggs, but and I know I just said Ravens, but there's a lot of players I like. I saw and the Darrell Revis. I saw more the end of Champ Bailey. There's a lot of players that I saw their legendary greatness more so back end of their careers because of my age. But Aaron Donald, I got to see him drafted, him play, and him retire. And I sit there and I think, man, that is the greatest defensive lineman I've ever watched play football. Maybe the greatest defensive player I've ever watched from start to end of their career. With that being said, there's a man that I think has taken number two on that mantle as one of the greatest defensive players I have ever watched play this game, and that is Myles Garrett. He is phenomenal. He's a physical freak. He's almost unblockable. 4 sacks against Lamar Jackson, a quarterback of his athleticism and escapability is impressive. He always has a good. I knew he was going to get his sacks because he plays us very well, but he plays every team very well. He's so damn good, and he needs to get his flowers. I told you I have him as defensive player of the year, and after that performance against us, there's no reason not to believe it. By the end of this season, he's going to have probably close to 20 sacks. I wouldn't be surprised if Myles Garrett breaks the sack record. I mean, after today, he was at 11 coming into today, so he'd be at 15 right now with 7 games left on the schedule. I think they already had their bye, so 7 games left on the schedule, something like that. It's either way, 6 or 7 games, however many they have left. You're telling me he's not going to get at least 5 to 6 sacks for the rest of the year with the way he plays, his athleticism, his dominance. He'll he'll break the sack record. I think this season he'll win his very rightfully earned defensive player of the year. And most importantly, he's just going to go down as one of the greatest defensive players to ever do it. We're watching greatness in front of our eyes. And as a Ravens fan, I've always said it has been a pleasure as a Ravens fan to be able to watch these great players in the North do their thing. I got to watch Troy Polamalu. I got to watch James Harrison. I got to watch Carlos Dunlap and Geno Atkins. I got to watch Ryan Shazier before injury. I'm getting to watch Myles Garrett. Like, getting to see these guys on a regular basis because of my team being in their division. It's it's like even when you're watching him do it to us and how much I hate him for what he does to our team because that's just the fan in me, the football fan in me, the love for the game in me can't help but marvel at what he does and what he continues to do year in year out. And he could go somewhere else, could make good money somewhere else, but he makes good money here and he bleeds for his team. And it's he made a whole stink about asking to get traded and because he wanted to play for a winner and then got paid and he was fine. He's one of those guys that I think loyalty will cost him a chance to win a Super Bowl, but it will not hurt his overall legacy because when it's all said and done, this man is going to go down as one of the greatest players I've ever seen play and one of the greatest players to ever play this game. Now that being said, one of the greatest players in Ravens franchise history, Mark Andrews, has officially captured the all-time receiving yard record from the organization. He already holds a touchdown record. and he's going to pull a Travis Kelsey or probably pull off the reception record. He will go down as our greatest playmaker of all time on offense. I mean, other than maybe Lamar, but I'm more considering specifically like pass catchers, running backs, you know. But he is phenomenal. I I'm glad he's got the record. I still hold on my stance that he's a free agent next year, and I'm okay if we don't re-sign him. On the fact of is I really like Likely. Kohler's a really good number three that can be a good number two, and we have to delegate money. We can't always pay everyone all the time just for the feel good story. It just doesn't work out that way. But I don't want to think too far ahead. I want to appreciate what we have now, and what we have is a record-breaking, history-making tight end for our franchise in the building, and he will get all the respect that he deserves right now and going forward, whether he will be with us next year or not. But to focus more on other aspects of the game, Lamar has not looked perfect. He has not looked great coming back from the hamstring. And I've told multiple people recently that I've talked to, coming back from a hamstring is weird, especially for a quarterback. Getting your body situated and your trust in your legs and everything is always a little funky for every player. So I'm not surprised it's been a little slow start. The turnovers aren't his fault. I mean, you're seeing the turnovers that are happening. They're all getting batted up. His turnovers are funky. He doesn't throw picks. He throws balls that get picked. It's different. People that watch the game understand how it's different. He's just a little off. But then again, you play a great. I think he had a displeasure of playing back to back great defenses in the in the Vikings, then in the Browns. It's going to skew your stats a little bit. So I'm not too worried about Lamar going forward. But I will talk about our defense, who has been averaging about 16 points a game, which I tell everyone, if you can keep their defense scoring less than 20, you should be able to win a game because I think every NFL offense should score at least 20, 21 points. That's just, in my opinion, your offense should be able to put up 3 touchdowns. And if your defense can stop them from scoring 3 touchdowns, you should be able to win the game. Our defense is now forced 7 turnovers in 3 games. That's been a great stat line. Malachi Starks has really come onto his own after the bye week. Martin, he's really making a name for himself out there. He's looking really good. Wiggins is our best corner now. I love Marlon. Didn't play this week. He's got a finger injury. Should be back in a week or two. If he gets surgery, it might be 2 weeks. If he doesn't get surgery, he just wraps it up. No ears to the ground, seeing how that's going to go. But I'm not too worried. But Nate Wiggins is our best corner, hands down. He is so freaking talented. I love the way we're using Hamilton. He has he should be in Defensive Player of the Year talks. I think his biggest issue why he wouldn't be, his stat line isn't as versatile. It's hard to get recognized as a Defensive Player of the Year if you don't have the picks and you don't have the intercept, or I'm sorry, you don't have the forced turnovers or the sacks, or you're not, your stats don't look so pretty. You're not the leading tackler or stuff like that. But he's in it on every play. He's versatile as hell, and he's one of the best players in the league. And he will win a DPOY at some point, and when he gets it, it will be rightly earned. I think his biggest issue this year is the competition, and I think Myles Garrett is just really has established himself as the best pass rusher in the league at the moment. And if he breaks the sack record this year, there's no reason he shouldn't win Defensive Player of the Year. I will end off on this. Shadur came out and played after Dylan Gabriel got hurt with it looks like a concussion. Can't judge Shadur on this. He came out playing a Ravens defense, threw a pick, looked. He made some big boy throws, but overall didn't look great. He didn't play well, but what can you expect? He hasn't worked with the first team offense. He hasn't played any professional football yet up to that point. If he remains the starter, we can start judging. But I'll give him a pass on what he played 2 quarters. I'll give him a pass. Well, let's see what happens. Good luck to him. I wish him the best. But when he plays us, I hope you look terrible. Sorry, man. I really do. I want us to kill you guys. But luckily, we don't play the Browns again. So good luck for the rest of the season, Shadur. Uh, We play the Jets next, and it's been announced earlier today, so I'm kind of glad I waited a little bit to record a little later in the day than normal. But Tyrod Taylor will start for the Jets against us. Um, I would have preferred Justin Fields, as in he's more turnover prone and he's a little more doesn't he's not as efficient with the ball. Tyrod Taylor, what a lot of people don't know, is as a starter or as a backup, he's really good at not turning the ball over, and he generally completes his passes at a pretty good percentage. So this actually, I think, even though I think the Jets team roster wise is way worse than ours, and it gives us, and we'll be back home after a 3 road game stretch, I think we'll be really set and ready for this game. It definitely is a changing of matchups, and how our defense is going to play this team is going to be very different. And I think he can give us a little more of a headache than Justin Fields would have gave us. But exciting to see where that goes. Last but not least, I want to talk about the current playoff picture in the NFL overall. So right now in the AFC, they have the Broncos at the first seed, New England at the second seed, Indianapolis at the third seed, Steelers at the fourth seed, Bills at the fifth seed, the Chargers at the sixth seed, and the Jags at the seventh seed. I think of all those teams in the playoffs, 2 will be replaced. I think the Steelers, whether Rodgers is hurt or not, I think this team is just destined for a downslope for the rest of the season with their schedule not getting any easier and them still having to play the Ravens twice. And the Ravens will dethrone them and get into the playoffs and officially get that playoff spot, winning the division. Then next, I have the Chargers getting etched out. We're losing their top offensive lineman, one before the season, one twice at 2 different separate times at the middle of the season. I think this team is just destined for it. Just this team, I think, cannot recover these injuries because it's injuries to an important position that is just getting your quarterback hammered and making poor mistakes. And that loss to the Jaguars will come back and bite them in the butt because I do think the Chiefs will slide into the playoffs while the Chargers slide out. But I think out of shock, for at least in my eyes, the Jags make the playoffs. I just don't see how they don't at this rate. I think their schedule is not as favorable at times, and they've already got a good win over the Chiefs and the Chargers, which really help them in seeding when it comes to the playoffs. It's very likely the Chiefs make it as the 7th seed or the Jags make it as the 7th seed, but as of right now, that's what I see as the playoffs for the AFC. As in the NFC, the current playoff teams are the Eagles with the first seed, then to follow the Rams, the Bears, the Bucks, and then the wild card teams being Seattle, Green Bay, and the Niners. Now, as I talked about the schedule earlier with the remaining games, I have the Lions replacing the Bears as the division winners. I think the Lions, just as I went over the schedule earlier, I think they're just a better, easier schedule for them and with their roster and their team and their coaching staff. I just think them winning 11, 12 games is more reasonable than the Bears winning 10 more than 10 games. As for Green Bay, I have them getting etched out by the Bears. Bears going to have a better record by the end of this season. They're going to have one more win. They're going to have they're going to split the division, which gives them an edge. Bears are going to just beat the Vikings, gives them an edge. I think Bears will slide into the playoffs, and I think the Niners will slide into the playoffs. I think the Niners have put themselves in a good position to make the playoffs. I think maybe it's a 10-win team, but if they can make the playoffs, if 2 teams winning 10 games, Green Bay winning 9, it it shows that tie to the Cowboys effectively ruined their season. Them losing the Carolina Panthers really hurt their season, and them being unable to compete and beat the Eagles hurt their season. Green Bay has inflicted self-inflicting wounds all throughout the season, and it's a team that I was ride or die with going into the season, and I am very happily fallen off the ship. And my pick for the Super Bowl will not be the Ravens Packers. I have backtracked on that now officially. I'm putting it out there. I'm officially out on the Packers as NFC representatives. I will wait maybe a week or two until I pick who I think will replace them, but I will say my favorite right now is the Rams. That is probably the team I would replace them with. I think the Rams are a phenomenal team, and I think if there's any team that has the experience going into the playoffs that can really and the roster to back it up, it's that team. So Hope everyone enjoyed this episode. It's ran longer than it has been, but I had a lot to say. A lot happened. A lot of important stuff is going on in the NFL right now. Great week of football. Please like, subscribe. Thank you all for letting me be a part of your day. Um, this has been the Fourth and Forever podcast. Once again, I'm Josh Kirby, and I just want to say, like I always do, thank you.